Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Still no.
We open the poll.
That's Julie.
Open and continue till the end of the meeting or until the attorney comes.
So do I read this and
Yeah,
open
should
it?
open it, and then we
Yeah.
can-
Okay. All right, in accordance with chapter 138, Mass General Law and the Bellingham Code of Bylaws, the Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing on Monday, August 16th, 2021 at 7 p.m. in the Municipal Center Arcan Meeting Room at 10 Mechanic Street on the application of Cumberland Farms of Massachusetts, Inc., doing business as Cumberland Farms for a change in beneficial interest and change of officer application for the retail packaged goods license to sell wine and malt alcoholic beverages for the property located at 297 Pulaski Boulevard, Bellingham, Mass. This meeting will also be accessible to the public for input via the Zoom online option. Do I need to read that? The link can be found on the town's website at bellinghamma.org under the virtual public meeting tab. It can also be obtained by calling the select board office. We have the lawyer on with us. So I make a motion.
Mrs. Chairwoman,
Yes,
do we have the lawyer?
we do not.
All right, I'll make a motion that we continue the meeting until a representative of the petitioner is on the meeting.
I have a first from Mr. Spencer, second from Mr. Martinez. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Okay, 5-0. All right, Julie, you're with us, right? Julie Rogers? You have to unmute yourself, Jules.
Oh, there's the attorney.
So, Julie, can you unmute yourself so we can hear you? Please?
Okay, I got it. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Hi.
Oh. Okay, hi.
Okay, so you are here tonight for the one-day beer wine permit request for this coming Saturday.
Yes.
Hillary, everything's good in terms of the,
Yep, so everything should be on your documents.
Yep, I'm looking right now. We've got the certificate of liability insurance. We've got
so it's from 2 to
their
9, right?
Liquor license, yep.
Does
We're all set.
anybody on the board have any questions for Julie?
Everything's the same, the plans for, since Millersville can't do it, Julie's doing the same donations, all bit.
Yes.
Great,
Yeah.
excellent.
Julie, you saw my email on that, right? How $1 of,
Yep.
okay, great.
And I'll count my drinks coming in and I'll count them coming out.
All right. I need a motion.
I make a motion to approve the one-day liquor license for PJ's Bar and Grill for this upcoming Saturday from 2 to 9.
First from Mrs. Graham, second from Mr. Connor. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
aye,
None. All right, thank you, Julie. We'll see you on Saturday.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Aye.
Jules.
You're welcome. We'll see y'all soon.
Sounds good.
All right, attorney's
Bye.
up.
All right, Attorney Devlin has joined us on the call, so I don't need to read the whole thing again, right?
Nope. You can tell them.
Hello, Mr. Devlin?
Good evening. Sorry, you called me right at 7 o'clock. You didn't you? I apologize for not being right on there at the right time. Good evening. My name is Joe Devlin. I'm a partner at the firm of Upton, Cannell and Devlin, which has offices at 112 Water Street in Boston, Massachusetts, and also at 171 High Street in Newburyport, Massachusetts. If it pleases the chair, I can explain the very large application that's before the board.
Yes, please.
So essentially, the parent company of Cumberland Farms of Massachusetts was purchased by a large convenience store, gas station operator in both America and Europe. The company that bought it was called EG America, and the company above that is EG Group Limited, and EG stands for Euro Garage. So because that's the company's origin. They bought the approximately 567 Cumberland farms in, again, approximately 8 states, with about 203 in Massachusetts, 7 of which have a liquor license. They bought it for $2.3 billion. It didn't result in any changes in the locations of the operations or alterations or changes in managers at the locations. Most of the same managers at all locations, most of the same employees, nothing changed as a result of this transaction. They were buying it because it was a good, prosperous company. Essentially what's happened is now at the top is a bigger company that runs these types of operations in America and Europe, as I said earlier. It's headquartered in England. The main principals are two brothers, the Issa brothers, and then there's an equity fund, private equity fund, which basically provides the capital for the acquisitions and ongoing operations. Because of the magnitude of this application, I've been before Bellingham. I don't know if I've been there in a while, but I've been there with Outback and some other chain restaurants, and also been there for some package store locations. I have never submitted an application that's like 6.5 inches thick. But because of the magnitude of the process and the transfer and the deal, the ABCC granted us the use of the inverted approval process, which meant I met with an investigator. I went over the application and went over the financing and the people involved. And they have sent you a letter in the 6 other communities that have a package store license in them that said that this is in compliance with the Chapter 138 and the rules and regulations of the ABCC. So what happens once you send the approval back in, it goes before the full commission for final approval once all 7 of them are in. I'm here to answer any questions you may have, and I thank you for your time.
Anybody on the board have any questions?
No, I guess, when did the purchase, when did it close?
The purchase happened a long time ago, at the end of October of 2019.
Wow.
As the company was getting the financials and all the documentation together, they were a bit surprised about the depth of the review in Mass and some other locations. Then the pandemic hit, and that just threw a monkey wrench into everything. The ABCC is aware of this as well.
So will the face of the Cumberland Farms look different now, or is it gonna still?
No, that's
Okay.
going to look exactly the same. They purchased a number in the last couple of years, a number of like locations, because that's what they run in Europe and in other parts of the world, almost identical. And the kind of crown jewel of what they bought in the United States, believe it or not, was Cumberland Farms. It's a really well-run business.
On a separate note, would they have bought the parcel of land at the corner of Elm Street and South Main?
I don't know. Would they have purchased property holdings? Because Cumberland Farms owns a vacant parcel of property in Bellingham as well.
I don't think so. I think they were, and I was trying to remember, I think all of them as well, all the ones that I'm dealing with have a lease, but if a store is on it and Cumberland Farms owned the property, they would buy it. I don't think they were buying. I'm sure those are retained holdings of the former owners. I can find out for you if you'd like.
What happens with that piece now?
Nope, they don't.
Okay.
$2.5 billion international company that was founded in Bellingham, Massachusetts.
Really?
First Cumberland Farms was on Pulaski Boulevard.
Look at us being on the map for something cool. All right, I need a motion.
You,
Oh,
any
sorry.
questions for the public?
Do we have any questions from the public? Thank you, Hillary.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second?
Second.
First from Mr. Connor, second from Mr. Martinez. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
None. 5-0.
Motion to approve the application as stated.
Second?
First from Mr. Connor, second from Mr. Martinez. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. All right. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you very much for your time. It's too bad I couldn't drive out to Bellingham. I do enjoy going out there, so.
It
Thank
is quite the destination.
you. It's a lovely town. I love going there, actually. All
Glad
right.
you were coming this weekend. We're having a big carnival, but we digress.
Have
Thank
a
you very
good-
much. Have a
I
good
hope it
night.
goes out well. Thank you.
Take
It
care.
would be interesting, Dennis, from our perspective, to find out what Cumberland Farms or the former owners, what they plan to do with that property. Maybe it's something Jim could connect and find out. We'd love to see someone buy that property, do something nice with it.
We're talking where the log cabin was.
Yeah,
back
exactly.
Way
then,
back
right?
when,
Yeah.
Wasn't Cumberland's at one point owned by Gulf?
I don't know, it was
No.
approved,
Gulf, gee,
it
No,
it
they-
was
I
approved
know,
for
we
a Cumberland
used to have
Farms, went through the
those
planning board process, the whole bit.
Sorry, I don't have.
All right, next on our agenda, we have Mr. Larry Spizzato, our town clerk. Come on up, Larry.
I don't see people seeing all the time over there.
Good evening.
Hi, Larry.
That is for you, Larry.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
So a while back, I was here to talk about the re-precincting due to the 2020 US Census. And first thing is, we got our official number for Bellingham. The population is 16,945. It's on the sheet that, a lot of the data is on the sheet that I.
Lori, do you have one of those for me? by any chance? Sorry.
Um, The town census for our, well, actually, it's an ongoing census, but from January till now, with the deletions and additions and so on and so forth, comes up at 16,127. So there's 818 differential there. Mostly probably due to people that do not respond to the census. And an interesting little side note is that the figures that they gave for the over 65 from the US Census
Nice and loud.
to, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
The figures that they gave for the 2020 census for the population over 65 is far fewer than what we have, the percentage, I should say, than what we have townwide. And I believe it's just a function of the fact that older people are more in tune with answering the census than they answer every year. So they're well represented. Criteria for developing a precinct is that it have not more than 4,000 residents, not voters, but residents. And there must not be more than a 5% differential between the precinct numbers. So I was kind of admonished for the fact that we had a precinct that was far out of the 5% range, and that was precinct 4A. And I was asked why it was like that. So of course I explained to them that they had created it. And it was something that was done probably in the second phase, which I'll talk about in a minute, but probably in the second phase of the re-precincting. It just was never addressed after that. So, so I told them we would definitely take care of it this time.
I thought one of the issues was because the Franklin state rep and our current state rep needed more people, so
No,
they carved out a piece of,
It's close, but it actually had to do with the congressional district and the government needing more people.
yes, okay.
So that's how that all happened. And we do not have the numbers yet for state rep, the state senate, or the congressional districts yet. So we may have to revisit this and change it again. But if that happens, then we're going to have to readjust everything so that we have equitable numbers in each one of the precincts.
Do we know when we'll get those numbers? Is it anytime soon or?
They have not given us a date. We just got,
Okay.
we had a preliminary number to work with. I just got this official number on Friday. So they're shooting for September, but they still wanted us to go before the boards to get an approval of what we have so far. So
So it could
it's
potentially
unfortunately
be-
a moving target.
Okay, so potentially you could be coming back with the new data.
Yep.
In September. No.
Depending on what they do, yeah, depending on what they do with the districting for the representatives.
Okay,
So the other thing is as I said, it is evolving, and we did receive a higher number before. They adjusted it down, and then so there's going to be a little bit of a change on the map that is there. If you look at the map, the black lines indicate what the precincts were before. So precinct 4 was kind of misshapen because it was ripped apart to create 4A. So now precinct 1, 2 have not changed at all. Precinct 3 is actually a little bit of it is going into precinct 4, that bright pink on the top there. And that's as a result of the change that we had to make the adjustment at the last minute today, actually, because we got the data on Friday. The other thing is that we've adjusted it so that the streets are contiguous and a little bit more an easier way of people understanding where their precinct is, because we had, you know, how we have spot zoning, where we sort of had spot precincting. So there would be like a couple of houses in one spot surrounded by a precinct that was totally different. So we tried to make it so that it's all pretty contiguous and easier to understand. That being said, please do not talk about precincts as trash pickup days, because it
That's how
confuses
he
the
says
hell out
that.
of people.
It's like the most
That's how I
significant
use it.
thing about what precinct you're in. Other than that, what does it really matter? You know, you go to the poll, it's not like we elect people by precinct or something. So when you think about it in the big scheme of things,
But
it's not
over
all that
time,
matters.
over time, it's changed, so it's not the
Yeah,
trash precinct,
yeah.
it's trash pickup day anymore.
Yeah.
And that actually happened 10 years ago, and people get very confused because they still talk about the trash day. And then 4 now is much larger. It sort of went back to what it kind of was before, pretty similar to what it was before, without having 4A. And then we had to take a little bit of 4 away to accommodate precinct 5 and make sure that the differential was within the 5% required. So that's pretty much it. I don't know if anybody has any questions, but the only thing left to do is to find out what the representative districts are to see if there's any change. And so I'll be back in September, hopefully with that information, and hopefully there will not be change. But whichever way, I'm going to really work very hard not to have a 4A or not to have that situation. So we have to adjust things again to make sure that we can still stay with 5 precincts.
Okay, so we don't need to take any action tonight.
No, you do need
We
to
do.
take a vote that if this is the case, you would approve it this way. I know it's ridiculous, but that's what they require. We have to have a vote by August 30th.
Okay.
So I'm not clear what action we need to take. That we're gonna have 5 precincts and eliminate 4A?
Just that this is acceptable to you should there not be any further change from the state.
Okay.
That's pretty much what it is. So that,
So do we need a motion? So I'll make a motion that we approve as presented by Town Clerk Larry Pizzato, the new map for precincts 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, eliminating 4A.
You have a question, Mrs. Grant?
No.
Okay. First from Mr. Martinez, second from Mrs. Grant. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Dan, did you have a comment?
Yeah, just a quick question. So if, when is the new information supposed to be found out
when,
as far as, yeah, I mean,
yeah, they're targeting September,
okay, all right.
so it should be quick.
I don't know.
Yeah, they still wanted a vote before August 30th.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
Because we're dealing with 2 entities, basically. It's the Secretary of State's office and the state auditors. So they
Did you say
have their
2
own
enemies?
requirements. Pardon?
Did you say 2 enemies?
That too.
Entities at work.
So the one other thing I just wanted to mention, because we are having a lot of building going on, and I tried to account for that in these precincts, particularly the ones that I knew about. Apartments, the possibility of Red Mill and Bogate Brook. So there should be enough room to add those in without a problem. But once this snapshot in time is over and we put the precincts together, over the 10 years, you can go beyond the 4,000. So there's room for growth there. And if there's And if you, the Board of Selectmen, select board, I'm sorry, see fit, that you want to then change it in the interim, you can. You can create another precinct if you'd like, then that's up to the board. Okay,
Great.
okay, the next thing is there's a diagram there of the town common. And, excuse me, a section of the town common anyway. And this is, I'm not sure if you're all aware, but sort of born out of the fact that I became chair of the town common a few months ago on the board of trustees, and I was looking for different ways that we could relax some of the restrictions there and get more events there and people more interested in going, because it's a beautiful place that people are not really sure that it's there or what it's for. And I've gotten a lot of complaints about the restrictions being a little too stringent. So, by way of making some changes, we now are going to be allowing money to be exchanged on the common. So we can have functions where there are things like a farmer's market or those kinds of things. And also we can have food and refreshments sold on the common. That was never the case before. And that will help out with fundraising for a lot of different organizations, because they couldn't really fundraise there. It's just a place to go. Plus,
Does
Yeah.
that include alcohol? I had someone call me about that.
So in the same vein, I was also very much aware that people in town were interested in a dog park, and there were different starts and started out and starting again, and we've never quite gotten there. There's an area behind, and does everybody know where the shed is? It's kind of hidden under the trees. Okay? Behind there, from there to Depot Court, there's an unused area that is just, there's trees there, but they're not even good trees. I mean, they're falling all the time. There's just a dumping ground, basically. It's a big compost pile. Anything that is at the common that they don't want, they just push back here. So I've done a little investigation, and so far it's feasible to create a dog park there. And I'll give you some of the particulars, but it would be right around 19.5 to 20 square feet in area, which is, I think, no, not quite a half an acre.
It's good size
Yeah, it's
for
decent
dog
size.
parks.
It's
It
decent
really
size.
is.
It's bigger than actually, I believe, Franklin or Medway.
It is. I know
from what can
Franklin's a little bit small, and that's actually bigger than Medway's too.
Yeah.
Medway's is smaller than Franklin's.
Right. So the kinds of things that I've looked at so far is I don't see any impediments based on the deed, which was one thing. I mean, I'm not an attorney, but I did review the deed, and it's actually a quitclaim deed and not a deed of land trust. So that takes away the infamous Article 97 requirements that you can't touch anything, you have to be really do and so on and so forth. The other thing is that it was voted in 1997, I believe, at town meeting, and the monies were appropriated. It was for a park. It wasn't for conservation land or anything like that. So it was for a park, and it still is going to be a park. She has different constituents in a way, but it's still a park. And excuse me, the only evaluation that hasn't been done yet is Concom. And there is an area on, if you're looking at the entrance to 140, from 140 to the town common, there's a whole big parcel on the left-hand side that I also looked at, but that was, there were a lot of wetlands in there. I didn't see any evidence of wetlands in this area here. And there were, I particularly went in the spring to look for skunk cabbage, I didn't see any. So I think that, hopefully they will agree that it's not wetlands. And we actually had a buffer area as well, just in case, because there was more land there, as you can see, the yellow line. But Jim wanted to make sure that there was enough space there to be buffered from the wetlands. And it should be more than enough. So right now, that's the stage that we're at. I also did speak with the housing authority regarding getting some parking. They have a, if you see up on the top left there, the orange, they have a parking lot to the left of that, that they just use for overflow. And I think we can add at least 5 more spots there, maybe more.
How many spots, without those, Larry, how many spots would there be, parking spots?
We need those.
I know, those are, so that's it.
That's it.
Other than them parking at the town common and walking their dog,
Yeah,
to the
but
park.
the dogs aren't allowed in the common. And that's the
Right.
problem.
right, that's the issue.
There is parking along Depot Street. Because I talked to Jim about that, and he said that it's wide enough and it could accommodate.
So that'll be a need. You'll see there's usually more than five. If you go to Franklin or go to Medway, there's probably, a half dozen to 10 cars. Not every day, not on average, but there are times of the day where there's more cars than not.
Well, if it becomes really necessary, we could move that sort of flathead triangle back a little bit.
Yeah.
Because initially that's how I had it,
Mhm.
but then to get a little more space, so we could have some parking at the end of the dog park as well.
So Jim, so just a question for Jim, if you looked at the parking on Depot Street, so if there was, 5 or 6 cars along Depot Street, is there enough room for people to get their dogs out of the cars safely and for them to walk safely to the dog park?
Yeah, so we would have to look at that closely. I mean, Depot Street is certainly much wider than most other roads in town, so there might be opportunities for parallel parking. Otherwise, you would need to do some improvements over there to add some parking. But it very likely could be wide enough for a few more parking spaces along Depot Street. Obviously, that's your guys' jurisdiction as well as working with the safety officer and DPW.
So do you have to next go in front of Concam or Concam?
You got marijuana in the brain? That's the name of the place down in Millis.
Oh, my goodness gracious. you know what?
Concom.
Concom.
We
Or
will
do you
have to
need to
eventually
get
do that.
approval from us first, or what's the,
I don't really need
Chain of
approval.
events.
It's really
Okay.
just that I was giving you the
the
information.
update? Okay.
Yeah, just an update on that. But the other thing that I wanted to mention is that because it's behind the shed, it will really have no impact on the town common proper. It shouldn't affect anything at all there. And also, as you know, there was a design put together a couple of years back, and we're going to try and fit it into this piece of land so that it doesn't have to be redesigned. And then go and try to get additional grant monies to actually fill the park.
I think this is a question for Jim. Jim, why can't we put the dog park on further back into the conservation area?
Well, I've been talking with Larry just preliminarily. I looked at it, and I'm no wetlands expert, but I'm betting that they're gonna say it's wetlands back there, and so that's why it's marked up on that plan. But that's very preliminary.
It's just development. The dogs are running in an open
Yeah.
field.
You don't have to convince me, Mike.
Just tell me the members who vote against it. We're all set.
Well, that is
Yep,
one
good
of the,
point, yep.
that is one of the considerations. Now, they do have to take a look. But we wanted to get to a point where we thought it was at least feasible before that happened.
The nice thing is with this, a lot of the seniors at Depot Court, Larry, was talking with Monique, have dogs, right?
Perfect location, actually.
And it's a neighborhood location where people from Weathersfield can walk down, or a new neighborhood that's being built, as opposed to disturbing anybody. It's not, when I say it's a nice neighborhood, it's nice walk to area. It's not in the place that would disturb anybody. So it's a great
No,
spot.
it's centrally located.
Yeah.
It's nice.
So I just really, again, wanted to update you and hopefully ask for your support so that we can move ahead.
Great.
Thank you, Larry, because the point of dog parking is down for quite some time, so
Yeah.
I'm very happy. You think so?
I didn't
I
know.
didn't know that. Did you?
We all
I'm
thank you.
sure you
Place
didn't
softball.
know. I'm sure you didn't. So Larry, thank you very much. I really appreciate your effort.
Well, I'm hoping it all works out well.
Can I ask one question about the town common in general.
Mhm.
The trees by Rockland Trust are hanging over into the drive-through lane. Are those owned by the town?
So
Or by
those
Rockland
are
Trust?
on their
Those
property.
hit my car today.
Yeah,
I
they
was
mine
just
too.
thinking about
They
it.
actually cut a few down. I don't know if you noticed.
They did, but they still hang down and
I
they're
don't
totally
know.
overgrown.
I don't know who originally planted them,
Shorter cars.
but I do
Never.
know that we maintain them.
You do or you don't?
I know that we maintain them. So, because I was talking to Wayne Carboni today, actually, because about the other trees. So we've been kind of maintaining them right along. Does that give us a right to them? I don't know, but if they need to be cut, I'll probably talk to the bank about it.
It's their issue because branches over into private property, if they scratch your car.
Right, if you're at the bank. and then,
Yeah, it's crazy.
Okay.
All right, propose a bylaw regarding Airbnbs.
Yes, okay, so this is, the origin of this is that we're having a real nightmare in Lake Hiawatha. Because there is, a woman purchased a home on the Blackstone side. And she decided to make it into a Airbnb. She fixed it up very nicely, it's a beautiful place. She's charging $741 a night.
What?
Are you
And
kidding
she's
me?
getting it. And yeah,
How is someone
Well, that's
getting that
good.
much money?
but that's very significant. That's why I'm here. Because Blackstone has some different zoning. And they have one family zone there, but it's allowable to make it multifamily. It's a special zoning R3 category. Don't ask me how they devised that one, but and they have no bylaws. So now they're trying to quickly come up with a bylaw, in which case she would probably have to be grandfathered anyway. So I'm trying to preempt that occurring in Bellingham. Now you'll say, well, you know, there's not going to be many places where that would occur. The two are Silver Lake and Lake Hiawatha. Neither one of the neighborhoods can really afford to have that kind of traffic, that kind of new population, so to speak, because this woman is advertising 12 to 14 people a night. There's a lot of extenuating circumstances. She has a defunct septic system. There's a whole bunch of junk that they should just have said that, you know, she should not be operating right now, but they want to do it, but they're taking their time. Just so you know, there are bylaws in other towns, either not disallowing Airbnbs or restricting them to certain areas, to certain neighborhoods or whatever. Some of the bylaws are extremely extensive, some not so much. So I'm hoping that we can not wait until we review the bylaws and maybe get something on the November warrant, because the thing is, when people hear that you can make that kind of money, I'm afraid that it's just going to catch on like wildfire, and they don't have the resources to handle it.
But it should. Every year when we do our alcohol adjustment, we increase our population by 500 people historically because of Lake Hiawatha.
I don't know why.
But we have for the last 50 years.
You don't need to.
But the point was, it was designed for an influx of people.
And I don't understand why there's a problem with people wanting to Airbnb their properties on Lake Hiawatha or something, unless they're exceeding the capacity of septic systems.
And well, in this
To
case,
me,
they are.
that's the only
Yeah.
area. I mean, I think anyone should have the right, if they want to Airbnb their home, they should Airbnb their home. I mean, the golf tournament down there, they have every other year now. I mean, there are homes that rent for $1,000 a night for these players that play or more.
Okay, well.
So I don't
I'm gonna
understand.
say this.
Yeah, so I don't understand the
Similar
problem.
to Mark, to what Mr. Connor
Sure.
said before. Don't come crying to me when the place is inundated, because I hear from the police that people are doing this, people are doing that, people are doing this, and there's nothing I can do about it in the first place, but the road is horrible. They finally paved it, half of it. It's very narrow. these people, it's not just the people that are staying there. She's renting out to people that, there's a dozen, say, but we'll take that round number. It's usually couples so that they can defray part of the cost. It's not that much money if you divide it up. Well, each one of them have 10 friends that come over. They, right,
This
that
is
police were
Blackstone,
called
right?
the other night. It's a Blackstone, but it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. That's what I'm just trying to not.
No, I know, I
have the problem
appreciate
exist.
that.
Because once they get there, it's gonna be hard to get them removed. They're also supposed to, by state law, report to the DOR and so on and so forth. So at the very least, we need to make sure that that's in our bylaw. So that they do that. So we have some recourse. But and there are plenty of areas, and the Supreme Judicial Court of the state ruled in favor of a law because it was challenged where they were not allowed in single-family neighborhoods, and somebody challenged it, and the state judicial law court did hold up that law. So it's not like it's unheard of. It's not like we're being, and we only have 2 neighborhoods. Probably Silver Lake would be worse because the roads are tiny.
But theoretically, if someone was, going to Florida for 3 months in the winter and wanted to rent out their house up here,
That's different because it's a short-term rental is less than 30 days. So so these are people that come in for the weekend, that come in for 3 days, and so on and so forth.
but theoretically, if I live in Bellingham and I want to have relatives in from California and they're gonna come for Christmas for 2 weeks, I wouldn't be able to have them come in and stay at an Airbnb in town. Because we're not allowing that.
First of all, I said some towns restrict and some towns don't allow, they disallow. So I think we should have some
You're looking
structure.
for some structure, some not saying no,
That's right.
but not having 15 people
That's
staying.
right.
in
Well,
one
I'll give you a perfect
location.
example, Larry. I've already put a deposit down. Like Kevin, my son's getting married next September out by Syracuse, New York. Now, I can't, now they live like 30 miles into the woods, the Finger Lakes area. There are no hotels. So I'm actually doing an Airbnb, near the lake. And it's $750 a night too. And it sleeps 14. So basically, that's a place for me to bring my wife and my kids so we can stay for the wedding. And basically, what you're suggesting is they could be doing the same thing here in Bellingham, like Michael or for Precinct. I don't think we should restrict Airbnb. I'm not against putting some restrictions, but I'm definitely against saying there's no Airbnb in Bellingham. That would never, ever fly with me. But I am saying, hey, they can't exceed the septic capacity or things along those lines, but they can do what they want during the day. If they want to have 20 people over to their home and have a barbecue, if they rented it for the weekend and they had 20 family members that came maybe from Connecticut or whatever, and they want to have a barbecue on the lake, why can't they have a barbecue on the lake? I don't care.
They can do that. And I tell the neighbors that complain, I said, if they're making too much noise or.
Well, there's a noise ordinance in
after hours,
town.
then I tell them to call the police. That's the only thing they can
That's it.
do. But even from our association point of view, if we have a very small beach, Silver Lake doesn't have that big of a beach.
Right.
You could theoretically have these people, or you have to have
A
pass.
permit. You have to have a
They could
permit.
get a 1-day pass. But I mean, you can have them just take over the whole area.
But the beach to Lake Hiawatha is half the size of this room.
It's small, that's what I'm saying.
I think, I understand that you're trying to preempt a bigger problem. I think if we were to look in, where we have the bylaw review committee and maybe look at it, I wouldn't want to rush to have something thrown in, in the warrant without us really sorting through it. I mean, unless you've got something very specific in mind, I wouldn't be in favor of addressing this in November warrant. I mean, it's a business and people are entitled to do what they want with their homes. And as long as they're within the confines of like noise ordinance. If it's 11 o'clock at night and they're blasting music,
Absolutely.
they need to call the police.
I mean,
Just like we do today.
Right now, I just did a quick search. There are no houses in Bellingham on Airbnb, and Blackstone's not even on. So whatever house that is that is it's not going through Airbnb, it's not up on
She
there.
did, no,
Could be VBRO.
No, what happened, there's that one too.
So
But what
that's the
happened
one,
is
that's
just
the
yesterday,
one
they
I
took it
use.
off. They took it off yesterday because there was a big altercation between the owners and the renters. So the renters called Airbnb and they took it down today.
So I'm kind of with Don. I don't feel the need to rush, especially if there isn't any actually up there right now.
But that's the point. This is what I'm trying to say before they come in, because if they do come in, then you'll have to grandfather them because it's just like zoning. We have a house on Lake Hiawatha that predates zoning. So they're allowed to have 3 families in one family zone because they grandfather. So it's the same thing. Once the Airbnb exists, then it's going to be there if you don't have an ordinance in place at that time.
But this,
I just don't see it as a destination the way
So
it's
this-
being presented.
this family that just took it off Blackstone from a zoning standpoint, once they take it off, the clock starts ticking again. You can't say, well, a year ago I put it up on Airbnb. I could put my house up right now on Airbnb is what you're saying, and then take it down for a year and I'm covered by zoning?
Or grandfather.
Well, the thing about a general bylaw, if you did a general bylaw, there is no grandfather. It's only grandfather for zoning bylaws, for general bylaws, which is what
So
we're.
can that be
we're
part of
Yeah,
what
doing.
you guys are
general
doing?
bylaws. So to
Yeah, we're
me, I
just
wouldn't have
dividing
a
it into
problem
that.
Yeah.
as we're
October,
discussing in the
I think.
bylaw review, putting something in there that, if someone does that the guest can't exceed the normal living limits, if you've got 4-bedroom house, 4 bedrooms, 8 people, you can't have more than 8 people, simple as
Well,
that.
and who do we have checking up on all of
Let
that?
me
Well,
ask a
that's the
question.
challenge, we don't have the
Yeah.
manpower to do that.
I'm pleading ignorance here because I've only heard this,
Yeah,
that Bellingham does not allow boarding houses. Is this true or not?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think
A
it's in our
boarding
zoning,
house?
yeah.
What's a boarding house?
Rent a room.
Short-term rental.
Yeah.
It's
So
short-term
let me, so I get asked you this, so I have 2 open bedrooms right now, right, in my home, I'm not renting it out, folks.
Mhm.
But my wife and I have actually thought of like going to Dean and saying, hey, if there's a good student that wants a place that doesn't want to be in a dorm because of COVID, we have a room that we could rent. You telling me that I can't rent the room? No one would ever know.
Yeah,
I
right.
don't know.
Nobody knows.
But you're saying
That's
there's a
the
bylaw, you're saying there's a bylaw
Exactly.
in town that prevents me
Well,
from
I think our
renting out a
zoning
room?
enforcement agent is with us tonight, so.
Well, I'm not renting a
Let's get
room to a Dean student, but I actually talked with my wife about this the other day.
Obviously, there are people that have exchange students.
Exactly.
Students from another country come in. I think that's different. What you try to avoid is, you have a
brothels.
4-bedroom home. and
You're
you
trying to
have-
eliminate brothels, that's what that boarding house is. I'm seriously, I'm not kidding, it's probably an old bylaw for that. from
In the
happening.
era of traveling salesmen.
Exactly.
It's when
Yeah,
there
if
was,
you think about
it's
it.
when there were sexters.
What?
Yes,
there
when
were
there were
sex-
sex.
When there were
symbols.
sex
It's the
in
traveling
town, too.
salesman era.
Okay, so getting back on topic.
No, but it's kind of nuts.
So-
We'll review that. bylaw.
I
We
say
have a
we
committee
review
that
it during
reviews
the
on
bylaws.
Yeah,
Which
we
is
have a
within a
committee.
couple months, you were saying, right?
And
October?
Larry, I think it's a good point. I'm not saying no, but I just, for us to act so quickly, well,
Well, no, now that I know there's no grandfather, we can have it.
With a
it's
general
not
bylaw.
grandfather, That's okay.
Yeah,
Jim, give me a nod. General bylaw, no grandfathering?
Yeah, it's gonna be dependent on how we write it, but most of the cases, if it's in a general bylaw, that's correct. Yeah, it's not, there's no grandfather.
okay.
I can sleep tonight now.
Thanks,
So can I. Okay, yeah,
Dennis
so
said-
that's fine. I just was, the reason I was rushing it was because I was afraid it would be grandfathered.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you, it has deteriorated the quality of life, not necessarily where I am, but for the local area, because the people that come there are on vacation. You're gonna go to Syracuse or wherever, the environs of Syracuse, and you're not, you have nothing to do with the town, you know what the bylaws are, you don't know anything about it.
I'm just
right?
renting the house.
Okay, so these people come and they just decide that everything on the lake is for them. They've taken people's boats. They hang out on people's docks. They go into people's yards.
Well, that's what the
So-
police are for.
That's
though.
why
I
we
don't know
have
why
I
I'm
police.
part of our
I
neighborhood.
understand that, but what I'm telling you is, if it were to become in either area, either the 2 areas that might be of interest, if you have 10 of them or 20 of them, it's not gonna be a pretty sight. That's,
All right, so it sounds like we've got a plan in place to
Yeah,
help
that's
at
fine.
least
As long as it's
work
not
on it.
grandfathered.
relay your concerns. All right,
Okay.
anything else, Larry?
Just one more quick thing, we're having a concert at the Common tomorrow night. It's the Oliver Brothers, you all know the Oliver Brothers, they're at every function that we have. They're actually gonna do a concert through the decades, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. So they can sort of showcase their other talents other than just.
Just then,
patriotic songs.
God bless America.
And what time is it? What time?
7 o'clock tomorrow
7
night.
till
until
9?
9:30. And also, we're having, there'll be an ice cream truck at the Common.
For the
It's
kids,
not, huh?
for the kids.
And, but it's free. It's
Great.
not,
Oh,
we're not
nice. That's really
charging.
nice.
So, if you can make it, that'd be great. 'Cause it'd
Yeah,
be
they've
nice to
been
show
very
them
generous with their time.
Their
over the
time,
years.
absolutely. And show them
Okay,
some support. Thank you
great.
very much.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Larry.
Larry.
Thank you
Thanks,
very much.
Larry.
All right, under other business, Jim, I think it was last month you came in front of us or 2 months ago to talk about the master plan, and we kind of made an agreement amongst ourselves to spend some time and review the top priorities, which full fair disclosure, I have not done. I'm not sure if any of you guys have, but we kind of wanted to put a placeholder or talk about it today so that when we meet in September, it's actually an agenda item and we come prepared. Does that seem fair to everybody?
Yep.
Dan, you good with that? Yes, go
Cindy,
ahead.
may I recommend, if we could, I would be happy to sit down with maybe yourself and one other board member, and we could kind of fine tune the request, and maybe we can offer some suggestions to the board prior to the next meeting.
I love that idea. That's perfect. Anybody else interested to meet with Jim and I?
I would like to.
All right, so Michael and I will. meet with you.
We lived it.
We're
so
on the
we're-
committee.
we're
with
on.
it, yeah. Charlie and I
Right,
don't need
that's
to
true.
sit in through that.
Okay, so will you schedule that, Jim?
Yeah, I'll set it up. I'll reach out to you guys.
Perfect. All right, thank you.
We'll really look forward to your comments with the bylaw and charter.
All right, Hillary, the
Yeah.
Pete's Bluebird, fix the
Bluebird.
clerical error. Do you want to just give it?
So I had a visit from the owner of Pete's Bluebird, and he was concerned that the address of the liquor license might not be the correct address of the physical building. And he is correct. All these years, it's been the home, his residence,
Isn't that crazy?
in the
Thankfully
restaurant.
we caught it.
So his insurance company caught it. So I called the ABCC and they said it's fine. It's considered a clerical error and we can easily fix it.
Oh, perfect.
So all it's gonna take is a motion,
Okay,
and I'll read the motion. The motion is to correct the physical address according to the assessor's database of Pete's Bluebird Restaurant from 93 Mendon Street to 85 Mendon Street, as this was a clerical error.
Second,
all right. First from Mr. Connor, second from Mrs. Grant. Any questions or comments before we, should have asked that.
Yeah, these things are gonna happen with new businesses.
The file was so old, I couldn't even find
Oh,
when.
Mr. Spencer.
that error was
Right.
happened.
I just went there for the first time a few weeks
Oh,
ago.
boy. All right, we have,
Great
we
So
have,
now he can sell alcohol at his restaurant.
there we go.
Not at his house.
Not
Not at his house. All right, we have a first and second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. All right. 5-0. July 19th minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, first from Mr. Connor, second from Mr. Martinez. All those in favor? Say
Aye.
Opposed? None. All right, under old business, we have a COVID-19 update. I reached out to Esther today to ask her, I think we went from 12 to 17, and I got a little concerned, and I didn't realize she was on vacation, but she did respond to me, and it appears that there was a family that was vacationing together, and they all came down with COVID, which explains why they increased. But wanted to talk about how we're starting to meet again on every other Tuesday, Dennis? Is
Every
that what
other
we're committing
Tuesday,
to?
and
Yeah.
if it the heat turns up on COVID again, then we'll go beyond that. One of the interesting things that Esther did confirm, and they've been talking about quite a bit, is it's primarily a younger people that are getting it in that 18, I think she said the 18 to 35 range, and they're not vaccinated. We haven't seen any breakthrough cases, but it's pretty much what you would expect and what has been talked quite a bit about, so. It's not that people that have been vaccinated or the elderly that are
Right.
getting it. It's not to say that it's exclusively that group, but we asked that question and she said we were right on with that, with those numbers.
Well, not to make anybody nervous, but I do know of someone, not in my family, but that has been vaccinated and came down with COVID. Yeah.
Is it a bad case, do you know, or mild?
Well, we don't know how bad it's gonna get, but the
Okay.
person is very sick. And the person's in his 60s and reasonably good health. He's been vaccinated and he got COVID and he's not feeling very well. But he's not in the hospital. But I'm just saying, I mean, I think that to me, when I hear that, and I was on that call with Esther, you know, I'm saying, okay, I'm being careful. I'm going to the grocery store and I'm wearing my mask. There was a time I stopped wearing my mask in the grocery store. And over the weekend, I went to the grocery store a couple of times, and I have to say, and I went into Bed Bath & Beyond with my daughter to get some college stuff. It's amazing how many people are wearing masks.
Yeah.
So I think they're doing the responsible thing, saying, hey, you just don't know. Until we know more, I'm gonna wear my mask when I'm in stores. And I'm gonna take precautions like I was prior to them opening things up.
I think what Esther also emphasized on that call is that if you can't maintain the 6-foot distance, it's really
For more than
good
15
idea.
minutes, yeah.
For more than 15 minutes.
That's right.
thank you. Yeah, it's a good
And
idea.
outside, there is no such thing as a close contact, basically outside. You
yeah.
come in contact with someone's COVID, you're outside, it's not considered, it's not something you've got to report or
Right.
take action. And to your point, I mean, the vaccines are 94% effective,
Yeah,
so
it's
six
just
out
gonna
of every 100 would that.
It might happen. You just don't know.
The data says that we are never going to eradicate COVID. Like we could smallpox, but it's going to be like the flu or the common cold.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And I think it's unfortunate that towns are jumping to conclusions to say that you have to 100% mask because it really, in my opinion, is a decision now. To get vaccinated, and I think people should be, but that's their choice.
Right.
Yeah.
I just don't like the idea that schools are going to have to mask just because some people don't.
And our
Yeah,
school
right.
department will make their decision on their meeting at the 24th. Right now, it's K-6
Yeah.
and
Which means
those who are not vaccinated.
But the thing about that is even if we're at 17 right now, if we were at 17 in March, we would have been thrilled. And now
Yeah.
the data, because we go from 12 to 17, it's Jesus Christ, we just had a 42% increase. Yeah, we did.
But then
That's
what we
math.
get, Right.
And this is all people going on vacations. Everyone's out of their normal, routine. They're, more, everyone is open back up, but yeah, I do see more people wearing masks if they are feeling more comfortable and like they should.
And obviously, we're all welcome to participate on it Tuesdays at 9 o'clock. Jim, you send out the Zoom link to the whole
Carnival
board,
will be
right?
all masked environment.
That's correct. Yep.
Carnival is outside, Mr. Connor. Thank you.
It's mask free.
And if
I
it
think you
rains,
should
then
have
all
a
that's
golf
off. You
Mask
don't need a mask.
optional, it's your
The
choice.
germs just wash off of your face. All right, anything under new business?
I do
from
have a
anybody?
question though. Speaking of the carnival,
Yeah,
and I'm sure
it's-
you've thought of this, are there going to be stations where people want to use hand sanitizers around the carnival area? Does the carnival
They'll,
person
they
provide
will
it?
have some, and with the porta johns that are being delivered Wednesday, actually. I believe we've got some stations.
People going on a ride, getting off a ride, they may want to,
Yeah, well, one of the things they do is they do wipe them down after every ride, so, like, but,
Under new business, seeing the census, I would like to make a formal request that we provide with the school department a joint statement. That can, I looked at it. If you look at the 2010 census to 2020, we went up 3.75% collectively. It would be very interesting to have a document on hand for the naysayers about development in this town to show the school enrollment in 2010 and document that we've increased 3.75% in population, but we've actually gone down in enrollment.
Yeah.
So when people do have concerns about development for the next 10 years, that we can show that it's not, and have it read into the minutes of the school committee.
It's not actually deterring people from,
Well, that the population is not suggesting that new development is going to decimate the school department.
No, it's not.
Maybe that's something that we can cover on our little
Yeah.
whirlwind tour of developments and.
Yeah.
what's-
Right.
Yeah.
All right, anything else in a new business?
So just as a good under that, can we, at our next meeting, have that enrollment to compare 2010 to 2020?
Have the enrollment of the schools.
Yeah, just as a follow-up to this meeting, and then the school committee can do the same.
If you really want a comparison, do 1980, where we had 4,000 students to 2020.
Double sessions.
2,000.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
It's increased by 50. Of course, a lot of it is because there's more options to the students have.
You also had families of 7.
That's right.
That are staying on.
But our population hit
Yes.
14,000 in 1980. and
There was no
it's
birth
increased
control.
by 3,000 in 4 years.
All right, town administrators report.
All right, we're doing our recording tomorrow, right? With,
Thursday,
Thursday, okay.
but it's gonna be raining, so we might need to.
Yes,
change
Mrs.
that.
McNulty and I are gonna be doing a little
It is supposed to be raining. I'm saying we might have to.
interview with the contractor out front, because there's been a lot of discussion about the project in the center of town and what's happening. And there were rumors about a rotary. I think most people know there isn't, but Cindy came up with a good idea to meet with the contractor, go over the project with them. The engineer will be there and talk a little bit about that. So we'll be doing that. The project on South Main Street, it's not, obviously, I know the board knows, it's not the beginning of the TIP project, which is the full-blown widening sidewalks on South Main Street. All they're doing is replacing the service connections before they redo the street, the water service connection, so that we don't have the biggest liability with water breaks are usually at the service. So if you replace them now, at least when we have the road done, we won't have that risk right away anyway. So that project is underway. We did receive a notice on the activities of the Cultural Council. I know the board members did get that email. I'm actually meeting tomorrow. Linda Trudeau is on it. She's working on that along with, I believe, the chair of the committee. We're meeting with the representative of the Cultural Council tomorrow, so we should have that all resolved quickly. There's been some turnover and illnesses and different things, but we'll have that resolved. This weekend, I'll let Cindy and Kelly talk about the different activities, but we do have our annual shred day too. That was hugely
Kevin's all
popular.
fired up.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna put a code red call out on that as well, because once a year, didn't do it last year, but the year before that, we did it, and we do it right in the municipal center and double traffic all the way out to 140, right through the parking lot. So it was incredibly well received. People bringing down whatever they have, they want to get rid of, and it's shredded right in front of you. It's dumped into the rubbish truck. The rubbish truck has a shredder, so you know your product is properly shredded. So that's on Saturday, and details of that are on the town's website. One other thing that I wanted to mention was the construction out front, the War Memorial for World War I. It has been moved temporarily, but it's going to be going over the common. So that'll be a nice spot for it. One other thing that a few people brought to my attention, gee, we just built a nice park in front, now we're tearing it up. We designed that knowing exactly where the back of the sidewalk was. Those plans have been in place for about 4 years. So if you notice, there's nothing in the first 12 feet of that little park, because we knew we were going to be pulling that back when it was built, along with that, obviously, the dominoes coming down. So, that was all part of the plan, although it does look like, gee, you just built a park and now you're not making that one. It's the first 10 years.
Good.
Yeah.
All right, so as far as the carnival and the Bellingham, are we calling it Bellingham Days, Bellingham Proud?
I call it
saying
Bellingham Days, that's
That's
right.
calls it Bellingham Proud.
I called Bellingham Proud,
Little
but
both.
So the carnival starts on Thursday, 6 to 10.
yep,
Friday, we
6
have the
to
golf tournament at 8 AM at Bungay
Yep.
Brook, which is sold out as of today. Yay. Carnival again, 6 to 10. Saturday is Cornhole Tournament at the library with PJ's is going to be there doing the food and the beer and wine garden. Followed by live music at 5:30, I believe, which is going to be on the other side of where the bleachers are facing into the turf field. And then the fireworks are at 9:30.
Right.
And then that's it,
Did you
right?
mention the cornhole tournament? I'm sorry.
Yes,
Yes.
cornhole starts at 2, or actually, Adam's gonna do one for the little kids starting at 1, depending on how many kids he gets to sign up,
Yep,
so.
and 2 sections of cornhole, one starting at 2:30 and the next one starting at 5:30, and then the winners from both will compete against each other after the 5:30. So, yeah, lots of goings on
It's
this
exciting, and
weekend.
then Friends of the Library will get some money from the alcohol sales, and then the additional money that we bring in through the golf tournament is gonna be split up between the Veterans and Memorial Day Fund and the Senior Center. So kind of an exciting way to do some fun things and give back to the community.
And the library's gonna be having a book sale on
Right.
Saturday, swim races, ages 6 through 12 at Silver
Silver
Lake
Lake.
with prizes.
Thursday. I think.
Thursday, yeah,
Yep.
I say Friday, I'm sorry.
No,
Everything's on the town's website.
Yes.
so
Yes.
Pay attention to what I say. Just go to
There's a
the
lot
town's
going
website.
on.
Yeah, or Facebook too, there's a lot of information up there.
Yep, I've been trying to disseminate as people comment on the ads that we've shared, if they have questions, which is why I wanted to go through some of the rides aren't set up, but they're already in the parking lot. Some people were asking, is it just gonna be rides for little kids or is it big kids? Let me tell you, there are some stomach turning rides that are gonna be going
Oh,
up, because I just swung through and looked, so it'll really be good for everyone. Give me a Ferris wheel any day.
Yeah. I did talk to Allison, she's gonna, from Milford Daily News, she's gonna be writing an article. I think that it's tomorrow.
I'm gonna draft a code red for.
Yeah,
you, and you
okay.
can Obviously, edit, like, blast that out.
Happy to do a code red that doesn't have to do with COVID, that's,
then
like
put it out
everything
tomorrow
that-
night, you know.
sure,
Yeah,
sounds good. All right, anything else? Mr. Spencer? All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
First by Mr. Martinez, second by Mrs. Grant. All those in favor?
aye.
Hi.
Opposed? None. All right, thank
I'm
you.
gonna see
Have a good night.
Have fun this weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks, move-in day, is that what it is?
Yeah, we're leaving Saturday morning.